And evidence of these wars can be found in the book of Deuteronomy in the modern day Bible. These gods, I do mean gods with an S, because everywhere in the Bible where it says God singular, it's actually a mistranslation. The actual, if you backwards look up the translation in Arabic and then down to Aramaic and everything else, you find out it's gods plural. 12, he shows up in Egypt, and we know that's a fact because I take people on tour every year to Egypt, and I take them to the house that Jesus lived in. It's a crypt. It's actually worship. People come there to see that bed that he laid in every single year. When I take people there, we take them straight there. And we know the path that he traveled throughout Egypt because it's a huge sign outside that Coptic church where he lived that shows where he went. Now, when he was in Egypt, what did he go there for? To learn the Egyptian mysteries. Who taught the Egyptian mysteries? Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. And so Thoth was the teacher of the Egyptian mysteries, or the ancient mysteries of what it was called. And then he leaves there and he goes to Tibet to learn Qigong and Reiki healing, which was confirmed by the Dalai Lama. And then he heads down into India to learn the mystic arts, teaching reincarnation all the way back.
In your book, you talk about, in the Emerald Tablets, you talk about how the Emerald Tablets came 36,000 years before Jesus even walked the earth.
Yes.
And Jesus, when we talk about Jesus, he was a student of the Egyptian mysteries.
Yeah.
He learned reincarnation. He learned, what else in India, right? In meditation.
In India, he learned the mystic arts. In Tibet, he learned Qigong and Reiki healing with the hands.
Yeah.
Confirmed by the Dalai Lama, by the way, in recent times. As the information has been handed down and passed down from Dalai Lama to Dalai Lama. Jesus' grandmother, Mary's mother, is also a virgin birth. And then he turns up in Jerusalem riding in the back of a donkey, right? To be clear, the Bible does not explicitly specify the precise date of Jesus' crucifixion. That's what they said. This is not me saying this, this is them saying this. I'm reading this from the sources. They're arguing over things. The true story of Jesus has really never truthfully fully been read. The Sinai Bible is probably closest to the truth because the Sinai Bible was written before the King James Bible and some of the other canonized books. And there's about 14,000 differences between the two. And one of the biggest discrepancies is Jesus was never crucified. Matter of fact, Harvard has a copy of the book of Jesus' life in its seminary library. So most likely he got married, had kids, and the Merovingian bloodline most likely is still walking the planet to this very... Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas. But they left that out of the Bible on purpose.
Who have you debated?
Whoever did debate.
Have you ever had like a public debate with anybody? Like it's on YouTube, we can see, or no?
Haven't had a public debate. There's only one person that wanted to debate me, but he only wanted to debate me so that he can clout chase. I looked him up first, I researched him before I disagreed to do it, and found out that he had did some things like, he had a sexual abuse on a 19-year-old minor. And I'm like, why would I make a guy like this famous?
You're open to debating anybody?
I'm open, yeah.
Okay, so if we set up anything with anyone else that's maybe expert in the area of topic that you know, you're okay with a panel like that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm here with my good man, Billy Carson. If you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible, and the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus is, according to some scholars, that's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified. I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods. And I just personally believe that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. When we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion, understanding, empathy, love that he came to this planet with, and we get that in our mind and our consciousness, and we can act on those incredible emotions and that understanding, that the whole world is going to transform instantaneously. And I think at the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of of how I perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification. Because, so you can actually go and see... Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. Mm-hmm. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified.
There you go.
And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking at.
I'm just curious, the Sinai Bible, where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
So that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with, there are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem, and neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River. Never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of 1st century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. And I think a bigger problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century, and none in any other language other than Middle Age Italian Italian and Spanish. But the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee. And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. So if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Right.
The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex Sinaiticus.
He's right.
So I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. I can just show the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John.
I have that papyrus at home.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so I'll show you this. So so the documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me are facsimile papyri that I've made. So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus plant. And then when I go and I look at actual manuscripts, so I was at the University of Philadelphia last summer, and I went and I saw a document called P1, which is a 3rd century fragment of the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And so what I did is I sat down with that original and I produced a facsimile. I copied the text. First of all, I cut it out with an X-Acto knife in not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply, it's what it's made out of.
Yeah.
The only with what you said, Billy, is that we have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just like, it's not that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery and you're expert, I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit and leading up into the New Testament.
Well, hold on, because do you mind if I address the Gospel of Jesus' wife?
Sure, go ahead.
What was her name again? I'm like trying to write notes like I know what I'm doing, but I'm just curious.
So the Gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually mention. So oftentimes what happens is that the text of the Gospel of Jesus' wife is kind of paralleled with the Gospel of Philip, which mentions that that Jesus would kiss Mary Magdalene on the mouth. And so those are kind of used in parallel to kind of for this argument that Jesus was married. So the Gospel of Jesus' wife is in the Harvard Library. However, the reason we know it's also not legitimate is because even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on, was carbon dated to the 4th century, the text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas known as Grandin's Interlinear. And there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the Gospel of Jesus' wife. So we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the Gospel of Jesus' wife and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her, and she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form. And the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife. Billy Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work. I've released clips from that conversation. Well, Billy does not want you to see those clips and has sent me a cease and desist letter. I was really hoping that this could be an opportunity for Billy to learn, to see the major errors that he's been repeating and turn this into a learning experience. I even offered to follow up with Billy in order to show him how and where he could find accurate and credible resources in order to make sure that what he was saying was verifiably correct going forward in the future, so he and his audience could learn and proceed knowledgeably. Billy did not agree. But unfortunately for Billy, agreeing to a debate, losing that debate, and feeling embarrassed about that loss does not constitute legitimate grounds to litigate. Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter that you have sent me if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion. This is my formal response.
This video is based on publicly available records, verified sources, and thorough research. I have made every effort to ensure that the information presented is accurate and supported by documented evidence. The purpose of this video is to inform and raise awareness about matters of public interest, not to defame or harm anyone. I encourage viewers to verify the information for themselves and approach these topics critically. The content herein is my opinion based on these records and does not constitute legal or professional advice. Before I get into this very deep dive that is going to open a lot of eyes, I just want to say, I don't really want to do this video. I've spent a lot of intimate time with Billy and Elizabeth, his wife, and I've seen a really, really kind version of Billy. I know there's a very good person in there, but I just can't help but see the other side of him that other people don't really know about. This video is a little bit intense. It could have been 10x more intense, but I think I share what is necessary, and like I said in the beginning of the video, I encourage you to fact check everything I've said. I will say some of these records are harder to find, but you can find them if you search, and you might have to pay some money to get access to them, but they are there. So with that said, let's dive in to the video Billy Carson does not want you to see. I've known Billy personally for over 10 years. I've been to his house. I've had dinner with his family. I've done business with him. He was also a client of mine for his social media. So I've helped push his grift, regrettably. And this man is not who he claims to be, allegedly. So in this video, I'm going to be going into all of that. But before I do, why now? Why am I exposing this now? I've known this about Billy for 3 years. And in that time, I even went to his New Year's party in 2022, going into 2023. I don't like people who mislead people. I don't like liars. And I had a personal thing with this all, and I'll give you that story now. When I first started getting closer with Billy during COVID, there was a bunch of drama that unfolded. And long story short, Billy Carson, to my face, told me and my ex-girlfriend that he was 70 years old. I had no reason to suspect he was lying about his age. I mean, hey, he's got the alien technology, man. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's black don't crack. I don't know, but he sure didn't look 70, but I didn't really have a reason to question it. I even Googled it, and I believe at the time it said that. It has since changed. Well, long story short, his now wife, who was just his girlfriend back then, heard that he told me that. He called me. And I was actually with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and the call started, I'm paraphrasing, but it started something to this effect. Hey man, I'm here with Elizabeth. She's hearing rumors that you said that I said I was 70, and I just want to have that conversation with you because remember we had that conversation? I said I wasn't 70, and that was a lie generated by the internet, and it was going around. Now, I've been manipulated my entire life by people like Billy. I don't know what it is with me in getting around these people, but it's been a pattern of my life. And in this moment, every part of my being wanted to say, no, you did tell me you were 70. But because of Billy's power, because of his status, because of the unpreparedness. You know, I have every excuse in the book for why I lied like a coward. But I lied to his now wife. About 2 years later, at the New Year's party I was at, his wife came up to me and we were all drinking, and she brought that whole scenario up. And she was like, you know, that was really weird, this and that. And I was like, yeah, you know, rumors just generate around the internet. So I lied for him again, like a coward. And then I did it a third time. And the third time was with one of his biggest investors, Robert Grant. I think he's one of his biggest investors. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I would have to assume so. I met Robert outside of my connection with Billy. I met him through somebody else. And I run a social media agency that helps push a lot of these kind of new age spirituality type personas. I've done that. I've ran that business for almost 9 years. I've recently transitioned it because of some personal changes in my beliefs. And Robert Grant was a lead in my pipeline. When I had my meeting with Robert Grant, you know, you create small talk with people to see how, you know, to connect with them and whatever else. And one of the things I brought up is that Robert is close friends with Billy, and I know Billy, and I'm friends with Billy. And Robert goes, man, do you know how old that guy is? And I was just like, oh my God, he's lying to grown men about his age still. Billy has gone above and beyond to delete all of the Instagram lives that used to be on his page where he would say things like this. I cannot find them. He's deleted them. But I did find a couple comments. I'll just share one of them here with you, where clearly one of his followers heard the same exact thing.
So check it out. Somebody says, "You're 64?" Question mark. I find this incredibly interesting. Just wait. I remember for sure I saw it on Google, because when he told me, I couldn't believe him, so I looked it up. And I'm not the only one who found it on Google. Right here. Boom. According to Google, he's 64 years old. But they also got 4 likes. So there are multiple people on his own page that say these same things. So are we all just making something up, or did he actually spew this lie? The evidence is here, and he has deleted other posts where he would verbally say it. And this whole thing went down. It was a huge drama with him and his wife. So I'm sure he really tried to clean up that paper trail, if you will. And I was still able to find comments. It took a lot of digging. I won't lie, but it's right here. See it for yourself.
So that's how my relationship with Billy kind of started. And I'm tired for lying for people like this. I don't want to make this video. I don't enjoy doing stuff like this. I believe this guy is not who he makes himself out to be. Of course, everything said in this video is my opinion backed by the facts that I could find online. I'm not here to attack Billy's character. I'm not here to make him seem like something he's not. I'm here to show you who he is based off the clues he's left. So, why now? Why am I making this video now? Well, Billy's trying to sue me. And he's trying to sue me because I got him on a podcast with a real historian who debunked all his BS in terms of Christianity.
Is that maybe he wasn't crucified.
Yes, the debate freaking took place with Billy Carson and Wesley Huff. Yeah. Can't go on.
All right, brother.
We can do a follow-up.
I really appreciate it, Billy. Thanks so much for interacting.
Billy talks about being emotionally stable, and when things go wrong, you gotta take care of business.
There's going to be obstacles. I just had an obstacle thrown at me yesterday. Some crazy crap happened from somebody that I really thought was a close friend. I really honored this person and thought that they were actually a really, really close friend, to the point where I even invited this person to my own wedding, and I only had 14 people at my wedding. So that tells you how tight that circle is.
I wonder why your circle's so tight, Billy. Is it because you actually have no friends, or is it because you've changed your identity and people catch on to your grift after so many years, because it's pretty easy to catch on to?
And this person did some diabolical, backstabbing stuff just yesterday.
Diabolical backstabbing. Billy, please explain to me how getting somebody on an interview with you, which we told you about, is diabolical and backstabbing. You knew exactly what you were walking into, but you were probably too lazy to do your own research because clearly you don't know how to do that. And you didn't look up who Wesley was. And because you came face to face with a real historian and linguist, the fraudulent documents you like to claim as truthful have nothing to stand on. And you didn't like that you got exposed. And because you got exposed for knowing nothing about Christianity, you freaked out. You freaked out so much that you were knocking at my client's door at 2:30 a.m. in the morning.
Now I got to handle that situation.
With legal papers, acting like you have the power to enforce some type of "you got served." You guys, this is the type of person Billy is. Like, he does have a brain injury, so maybe there is something like literally wrong with him. I don't know. But this is like crazy behavior. My client has kids. He has a family. You got this guy walking up at his house at 2:30 in the morning because of a debate that he posted. That, by the way, wasn't even that bad. I mean, it was bad because Billy doesn't know what he's talking about, but there wasn't like arguments, and Wesley was very kind and he could have pushed way harder and he didn't. So Billy, bro, was it diabolical or is what you're doing diabolical?
But at the same time, my mind went right into solutions mode. What's the solution to this problem, and how can I do it? How can I take care of this situation?
The solution is to pretend you're a lawyer and knock at my client's door at 2:30 in the morning.
How can I take care of this situation, which I've already worked on last night while it happened?
Yo, you sure did, Billy. You sure did work on it the other night.
I didn't wait and think and sob and, oh my goodness, I can't believe this person backstabbed me like this, and why is this happening to me?
Backstabbed you? Please show me where the backstabbing occurred.
Yes, I processed the anger and the...
Billy, there's nothing to process. There's literally nothing to process. You agreed to an interview with Wesley. There was no bait and switch. You knew exactly what you were walking into. We told you we were going to talk about religion, but you don't know what you're talking about, and because you finally stepped foot in front of somebody who knows what they're talking about, you were exposed for who you really are. So, let's talk about Billy's credentials. I mean, he did go on Joe Rogan talking about how he got into all this stuff.
Next morning, and I told the teacher I have to go to the library inside the school, Rainbow Park, and I said I need to get all the encyclopedias on aerospace. And she gave me the encyclopedias on aerospace. And that's when I started researching from that exact moment.
Wow.
And I haven't stopped since.
So you were, how old? 8?
7.
7 years old. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So he claims he was 7 with Joe, but with Wesley and Mark.
But since I was 6, I was studying aerospace.
Now, could that be an honest mistake? Sure. But if you're going on Joe Rogan, I would really highly encourage you to have your stories and facts in order. So what are Billy's real credentials here? He claims...
And you studied at both Harvard and MIT?
Harvard was for ancient civilizations. I took a class and got a certificate in ancient civilizations. And at MIT, I took a class in applied neuroscience and got a certificate in applied neuroscience.
Okay, so he says he goes to Harvard. And when you hear these words originally, most people are like, oh yeah, like he graduated from Harvard. Billy Carson did not graduate from Harvard. Billy Carson did not graduate from MIT. Billy Carson took a free class that any human being can take on ancient civilizations at Harvard and neuroscience at MIT. But he's gonna push that in your face like that's something you can't do. This is a recent comment. He tells his followers, nah, Google me. MIT Applied Neuroscience, Kane University, Quantum Physics, Harvard Ancient Civilizations. In the class I'm teaching here, I'll provide you all the sources. Y'all, listen up. You can literally go take these classes at Harvard yourself. This is nothing to be proud of. I mean, and by the way, this is all recently. So, clearly he's starting to realize people are catching on to his grift. This is not impressive. And why does this Harvard University credentials say he went to school for 3 years. He says he went for 3 years, but the course he says he took only takes 1 year. Did it take him 3 years to take a 1 year course? That's crazy if so. Or is he just trying to skew the perception of who he really is to continue his grift? That is a question I do not know how to answer. I'll let you decide. He forgot to mention the part where he was an actor.
Over dry the beard because that can create itching and irritation.
But Billy, despite his quote-unquote education, he also claims he's a scientist.
You know, when I go a lot of places, because I'm 6'4", a lot of people, did you play basketball? Did you play football? What do you do for a living? I tell them, I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist. That's what I tell people. And you got just to see the look on a lot of these people's faces when you first tell them that. They're like, huh? A scientist? Like, they're completely shocked. It's like, this black guy just told me he's a scientist. You can see it in their face.
Billy, my friend, science doesn't really care about your feelings, yet based off your own words, you like to base your research off what you feel it is.
If they ask me questions, I'll continue to try to educate them on what I believe or show them the way that I feel it is.
This is literally the definition of being emotional, which you claim you aren't. But based off your actions and how you do your research, you're clearly emotional. You have no idea what a real scientist is like. Let's talk about Billy's past. He also claims he's not a criminal. And you'll hear him say this a lot. He even made a video back in 2023 to debunk the allegations that certain people had started putting out about him. About that he spent time in jail, about that he was arrested for identity theft, and all these different things that he claimed are not true. He put a video out about it. Unfortunately, I can't find the video. The reason he probably deleted it is because he probably tried to debunk something that was actually true. And probably Elizabeth or somebody close to him was like, dude, you can't have this out here because this is a lie. So the video's gone. I found that very interesting. For somebody who prides themselves as being honest and transparent and, a thought leader and all these different things. But when I looked into it, not only is Billy a criminal, but he lies to people about being a criminal. Let's take a look.
That's a bit.
That one, no, yeah, 3 months. 3 months.
That's a year. If you innocent, 3 months is a fucking year. That's a bit.
Time. I went on a trip with a friend of mine to Georgia a long time ago. We were kids, basically. And
You weren't a kid. You were 31 years old. This was in 2002.
He had some marijuana in the back of his trunk. He had not even a lot. I mean, it was personal use. It was less than an ounce. It was in his speaker box. We get pulled over going into Georgia. So they pull us over and everything else. He forgets he has it in there. It's so old that it's dry rotted, I guess, and they searched it. They found this dry rotted, bud in the back of the trunk.
So Billy, it wasn't marijuana. It was cocaine. That's a big difference. And unfortunately, somebody tried to wipe this clear of the internet, clearly, because it's very hard to find details on this. But I dug these details up over 2 years ago. They've gotten harder since.
And they took us down to the local, the local police department, the local jailhouse. And they kept us in there for 3 months waiting to go to trial. He had given the statement that this guy was just a friend of mine, a passenger in the car and everything else. People were begging to get out of there just to go to prison. But it was a hell of an experience for me to be able to be around those people. I became like the leader in there, of course, dropping knowledge on people and getting people's minds right and everything else. And people, the hardest core criminals and stuff in there were like hating to see me leave, literally tearing up when I got out of there. Obviously, they had to let me go because I didn't do nothing wrong.
3 months?
3 months. 3 months.
That's
just to go.
Quarter.
That's what they do. It's a business. It's a business.
It almost feels like you just needed to experience every single thing for no reason, just so that you could relate to the rest of the world.
I already knew that. That's exactly what it was. I had been through that situation, which of course I was completely exonerated. I have no criminal record at all. Matter of fact, I just got my concealed weapons license. But I'm a Team USA basketball coach, so there's no record there. But being able to be around those people and experience them at that level and talk to them on the level that they were at and understand what they were going through, and then to be able to talk to them and take their mind to a whole nother level. Some of those people looked me up when they got out of prison down in Miami, and we linked up again, and they were like, I did this, I changed my life here, I changed my life there, all from just me helping them find a way to look inside and elevate their consciousness. So it was a great, people will look back at that experience in their life and be like, I can't believe this happened to me, and cry about it and whine about it. I'm thankful for it because it gave me another perspective of life that I probably would have never seen. And it gave me the ability to relate to people that have gone through that or been through that system on a level where I can directly talk to them and they understand I know exactly what's happened, how they felt about it. And also I can give them a step-by-step process on how to elevate themselves and not even have to worry about ever going back.
But
that was a great experience, man.
Do you see what our greatest teachers have to go through to teach? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's almost karmic. It's like you have to go through something. Even if you walk in a straight line, you still have to feel that diversity to see if you can face the challenge so people can learn from you.
Right. Now, I find this whole thing he's telling Dame Dash very interesting. I'm actually curious if this is where the idea of forbidden knowledge came from. The dude went to jail and was apparently inspiring the criminals inside the jail. And apparently, after he got out of jail, people looked him up and told him about what they shared with him in jail inspired them. Now, I'm all for, inspiring people. I have a past too. Everyone's got a thing in their past. I have no problem with that. My problem is the lies. But I just can't help but wonder, is this where Billy got the inspiration for forbidden knowledge? Obviously, that's just my speculation, but that's very disingenuous because he probably told those people he had nothing to do with this crime and the cocaine and whatever else, but clearly, there was clearly something to do with it. Whether he took a plea or something else, I don't fully know. I cannot find those records. But something happened. This was a serious charge. I want to give Billy the benefit of the doubt here, but he didn't learn his lesson. And I know he didn't learn his lesson because this happened in 2002 with the cocaine. And oh, by the way, he says he was virtually a kid.
A kid. You were 31 years old. This was in 2002.
So to play this off like you were like 18 years old is just very disingenuous. And clearly you didn't learn your lesson because in December 2013, you got arrested for fraud. Here is Billy's court records that I pulled up from the Broward County website. On December 18th, 2013, the defendant, William Carson, this was before he changed his name, was arrested for using a fictitious ID card in the name of Charles Rubin to fraudulently open a Chase checking account at Chase Bank. So, following in the vehicle's center console, this is what was found. A Florida driver's license in the name of John Black Knight. Okay, so that's not Billy. An Amex Costco card found in the name of John B. Knight. I don't need to read all of it, you can see it right here, but he says, after waiving his Miranda rights, William Carlson admitted to opening the two Amex accounts, the American Eagle account, the Barclays account. He advised that he has never used the real identity information of another person to open the accounts. Further investigation revealed. In 2013, the defendant opened at least 6 credit accounts. 6! Using Tony Bellamy's real Social Security number without his authorization. For each of the 6 accounts established, Tony Bellamy's name, date of birth, phone numbers, address were not used. Each credit account had an account balance. The following names and dates of birth were used in addition to the Social Security. Wow. Long story short, I'm pretty sure he ended up going to the jail. Here he goes. I read defendant Miranda rights via card, which he waived and admitted that the license was fictitious. Defendant advised that he purchased the license off of the street in Miami. This is 11 years ago. Not even. Yeah, it's literally like almost exactly 11 years ago. Defendant advised that his credit is bad and could not open an account under his real name. Defendant signed consent form to search his vehicle, where I found another Florida driver's license in the name of John Black Knight. I also found a Florida Power light bill in the vehicle with the name Charles Rubin on it. Defendant advised that he printed out a bill on his computer and changed the name. Defendant also advised that in the past he changed his birth name from Billy Camrick Carson to his current name. Carson also changed his name. His real name is William Carlson. Why would someone have to change their name? Alias name, Carson Billy Camrick. Alias name, Carson William Tyrone. Charged for fraud. Here you go. Here's the arrest information. And, you know, I could go on and on. I don't need to be a freaking detective here. You can go download this stuff if you want, but you get the idea. This is Billy Carson. This is forbidden knowledge. It's the same guy. And he makes a video that is now deleted trying to say this isn't him. Yeah, you can look up all his records. Broward County, look it up. It's all there. I'll put some screenshots so you can check it out yourself.
Maybe I am missing information about Billy's charge that he talks about, because I came across something really interesting, and it is a post that he put out. I'll put it here. And he says, "My new documentary will be on Amazon soon. Take a journey with me into the county jail for one night and the extensive process that I had to go through to get my case terminated." Okay, so he acknowledges there was a case, just like he said to Dame Dash. So it all adds up, right? What doesn't add up based off what Billy says is the nature of the case. From what I found, it's cocaine. From what he says, it's marijuana. And it seems like he was going to make a documentary about this. You know, this was all the way back in 2018. I went to go look up if the documentary came out, and it did not come out. It's still in pre-production. So I don't know, maybe it never happened. You know, maybe this was a project he was working on and he dropped it for whatever reason. But I was actually kind of glad to see this post because, you know, this was 2018 when he made the video about, is Billy a fraudster and did he really go to jail and all that other stuff that I showed earlier. That was like that was much later, you know, this was later in time. So this has clearly been on his radar, and I would just love some clarity. Like, I really would love to know the truth. Again, I don't want to paint somebody for something that's not true, but based off Billy's words and what I could find on the internet, something does not add up. Like, did you actually do fraud? And if you did, no worries. Like, we all make mistakes, but why do you have to lie about it? Why do you have to try to cover it up? Why did you change your name? You know, these are questions that I just have to, I just personally want answers to, especially if you're a public figure who are guiding people in their business, in their spirituality, in their mindset. Like, one of the biggest things for all of this is transparency. Like, just like those Christian pastors, you know, they preach love, but then they rape children. It's like, I can't trust you with my spirituality. That's ridiculous. Why would I ever trust you with that? And I'm not saying Billy does that, but I am saying that, you know, if he has a fraudulent past, I'd love for him to just come clean about it so that we can just have clarity so we don't have to wonder. But based off what's on the Broward County website and other websites, like the documents I showed, there is something. There's clearly something. Unless this is all fraud and Billy's actually the one that his ID got stolen. I don't think so, based off everything that's there. I mean, he's gone to jail a few separate times. So there's something, but I found this super interesting because he was going to make a documentary about it. So, I mean, if you're committing to making a documentary about how your case was unlawful and terminated from his own words, that's significant. That matters. And I feel like if this is all true, he would have talked about it more. So I don't know. It's just really, really interesting.
Billy Carson also raised almost 48,000. This was in September 2017. It was for the island of Puerto Rico. There was Hurricane Miami, and Billy actually raised $47,814. Now, I am personally insanely skeptical about this. I'll show you why. I'm not drawing any conclusions, but I'm going to commentate on this and just show you why I think this is very fishy in a lot of ways. And this is not the first time he's done this. He's raised audience. He raises money through his platform all the time. For somebody who claims to be a multimillionaire, why would they have to raise money for Hurricane Maria? Wouldn't they just want to donate the money themselves? Why do they got to use their followers? He also claims he's donated $12 million in his career. I'd love to see some receipts on that one, because you claim you always come with receipts.
Again, I always bring you guys the receipts. I always bring the receipts.
He's doing it right now. He's raising money. I think that's a little bit more professional than some of this GoFundMe stuff. But this to me is super, super fishy. So pretty much what I'm going to be showing you is, again, he's raised almost $50,000. You would expect so much supplies everywhere. And he does show supplies, and maybe there's some that he's just not showing, but I'm just skeptical of that, because if you have to show anything, wouldn't you show it all? Wouldn't there be literally semi-trucks filled of stuff?
We did launch the Hurricane Maria Disaster Relief Fund. The link is in my bio, as well on many other bios that I've already got on the council online. Please follow that link, because if you can't help financially, but you're local, you can actually bring goods directly to 2 different addresses that are already established, with cargo ships leaving out, taking supplies to the people in Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, Virgin Gorda, Dominica. Please, we need your help. These people are suffering significantly. 100% power loss. Puerto Rico powers the majority of those islands out there. So because they're down, everybody else is down, and they're talking about potentially 6 months. It could be even more to get electricity back. But there's people suffering, sick, in need of food, even just toilet paper. So please, find it in your heart, whatever it can be. Help us help these people. Help me, help my family. They need us more than ever. All right.
I think it's really awesome what Billy's doing. I think it's amazing that he has a heart for this stuff. And I'm not even necessarily accusing him of taking money from this, but just based off what he has shown publicly, something to me personally doesn't add up. I mean, I'll show you the evidence of what's here. I'm sure there's more, and maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know for sure. Maybe there's more people involved. Maybe there was a lot of stuff that happened outside of the scenes. Maybe he is donating money and it's not just supplies. I don't know. But based off what he shows here, it seems to me he's just raising money for food, for water, for diapers, baby wipes. But if you read the GoFundMe and what he says in this video, he says that if you bring supplies, we'll donate it for you, which is awesome. Again, this is all amazing stuff. And he shows the supplies. So my question is, what is the donated supplies versus what did he buy? And clearly, it's not $47,000 worth of stuff. I mean, what he shows, there's just no way. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I overlooking into this? Are my lenses tainted? Maybe they are, but Billy has lied to me personally. He has told other lies based off what you'll see in this video. So could he be lying about this too? I don't really know. I hope he's not. I really hope he's not. I don't feel like Billy's that type of person, actually, based off my personal experience with him. Like, just because he lied to me about his age, that could be for some other reason that I don't know about. I think he lied about that because he wanted to sell his Anunnaki colloidal silver stuff. There's even a hashtag that says hashtag alien blood that he used. So, it's a marketing thing. It's a little weird, but hey, it's harmless really in essence. But this, I don't know. I really want to be wrong about it. I really, really do. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I'm over here at the Cheesecake Factory with my man.
How you doing, Miguel?
What's up, Miguel, man? We just dropped off some supplies here. Hope you guys can see. Miguel, tell these people how we getting this stuff into Puerto Rico, man.
Well, different ways though. We have Fresh Point, they're helping us out. They have a plane goes out once a week to Puerto Rico, so they'll be taking as much as they can. And then we also have some charter jets. The pilots are kind enough to load up whatever we can in their planes when the planes are empty to Puerto Rico as well. So with accommodation between the private jets plus Fresh Point, we'll get as much stuff as possible down to Puerto Rico.
Hey, appreciate it, man. The people appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And we're going to bring back some more goods.
All right, sounds
Thanks,
good.
man.
Yes, thank you.
All right, cool. I'm at the back door of Cheesecake Factory, man. We're going to be bringing back some more stuff. All right, so that was Miguel. He's the manager. And they got the charter flights. So I've been working all day, and we loaded up the whole warehouse back there. They have no more space. We loaded up a front office, a side office, and this back mop room with stuff. So now I'm sweating like a pig out here. Y'all got me doing manual labor, but it's all love, man.
So something suspicious about this clip is that he claims they loaded up, multiple rooms and whatnot, but where's the truck? Like where he has a car, but it's not a big truck. Like it's just a normal car. Like, where did you take these supplies? Like, where are the other people helping you? Like, there's no way you unloaded, even, let's say it wasn't, like, obviously it wasn't the full 50 grand. Let's say it was even 10 grand. I mean, a pallet of water is like $500. So, like you loaded that into your car? I just have so many questions about this.
Love. We don't need truck drivers because we're delivering the stuff directly to the Cheesecake Factory in Puerto Rico. So what's happening is people are from in that area. There's thousands and thousands of people in that area. They just go right to the Cheesecake Factory, to pick up the food and the goods and supplies. Today I did 10,000 baby wipes also, and a whole pallet of...
Okay, so he says 10,000 baby wipes. I don't know if he means 10,000 baby wipe packets, because there's 60 per packet. So this is where I'm just like super skeptical, and maybe this is my taintedness, like just not believing a word this man says anymore. Or he's being slick. I don't know. Either way, let's run the math on both of them. Obviously the numbers vary. Even if we give Billy some of the best case scenarios, the math just does not add up at all. Okay, so he specifically says 10,000 baby wipes. Going off of his words, so there is 12 packs that you can buy that come with 84 wipes. That means if he bought 12 packs, that would give him 8,008 wipes. So if you buy 10 sets at $35, that's going to give you 10,000 baby wipes. Okay? $35 a set. So if you buy 10 sets at $35 a set, that's 10,000 baby wipes. That's only $350. If you wanted to buy 10,000 packs, which is not what Billy said, and I personally don't think it's what Billy meant. Because if you're buying 10,000 packs of baby wipes, dude, this is truckload, and he's not in a truck. So even then, though, it's $29,000. $29,000, $200. So he's very careful with his wording. Interesting.
Goods and supplies. Today I did 10,000 baby wipes also.
Okay, so he said he did 10,000 baby wipes. He did it. He didn't say he needed help. He had help. And he clearly doesn't have a delivery truck. So, based off what he says, I can conclude he's not talking about packs. He's talking about individual baby wipes. Even if there was 30 in a pack, this is still not that much money. Let's cut it in half. If there was 42 in a pack, he would have paid double the amount, which would have been $700. So it's still nowhere near
and a whole pallet of diapers of various different sizes.
Okay, so then he says a whole pallet of diapers. You can buy a pallet of diapers for $1,500. Okay, let's even give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's round it up, $2,000. That's still like, we're not even at $3,000 yet.
Because we got a lot of requests. They're the ones who made me get the baby wipes, basically, because they have a lot of, obviously they have an actual restaurant in Puerto Rico, and when the flight came back a couple of weeks ago, they actually evacuated about 50 people, and the people they hadn't had a bath in a week almost, so basically they were very smelly. When the flight attendants gave them baby wipes, people were crying just because of baby wipes, because they hadn't had a chance to even wipe themselves down at all. So that's why I got the 10,000 baby wipes today, along with everything else, man, because you got to be made to feel like a human being at some point, even if and we brought a lot of toilet paper as well, because they have no toilet paper.
Okay, toilet paper is super cheap.
Paper whatsoever, so that's what's going on, man. So fortunately for the people here that work for the Cheesecake Factory, connected here to the United States, one is in Puerto Rico, they actually were able to eat a lot of the food that was left over at the actual restaurant, so that helped them out for the last few weeks. But that's kind of all run out now, because that was just for them and their families. But now everything that we've been bringing here is getting distributed directly to them, and then from there it's going out to people that need it, bypassing the port, bypassing all the hoopla and all the bull crap that everybody else is going through. So whatever we do here, whatever you guys have donated, is getting directly into people's hands.
Whatever you guys have donated is getting directly into people's hands. See what he said there? He didn't say the money you're donating, I'm purchasing products that get directly into people's hands, because he says it in another video, or it might be this video, where he gives people a physical address on the GoFundMe where they can just send supplies. I don't know.
And this is just one person that I have with private flight connections. I have another one that has private flight connections. A guy that actually owns his own plane and flies in there and takes supplies directly to people as well.
We have access to 2 private jets through Cheesecake Factory and an additional 1 private jet. Something doesn't add up with this.
So I'll probably go live with him maybe on Monday and let you guys check, see what he's got to say. You know what I'm saying? So like I told you guys, man, I ain't playing. I'm getting this stuff to the people, man, right into their hands. There's no guesswork. There's no, I hope we can get the stuff from the port. None of that, man. Everybody, whatever you gave, whatever you've donated is going directly to the people. It's getting directly to the people's hands, man. So share this information with everybody. I'm going to save this live. I'm going to upload.
One thing I want to add is that, kudos. Most people never donate time, donate money, donate supplies. So I like that Billy has a heart for this. But I'm sorry, it just doesn't seem very transparent to me. And it's like, yeah, if you're making money off of this, it'd be pretty damn easy to be motivated. So I'm going to go to another clip where he shows a lot more of his supplies. And this is what inspired me to even talk about this. This is when it gets weird.
All right, I'm here with Miguel again.
So he's with Miguel again. And this interaction to me is really strange, personally.
Cheesecake Factory, we just dropped off a whole lot of work, trust me. And we got more, but we can't overwhelm them. So we'll be back with more another day, because they only have limited space here. So we'll be back, but they're going to take what we got to Puerto Rico, man. We appreciate it.
We think everything you guys have done for us, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right, have a good day. Appreciate everything.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, so that was a weird interaction. And now Billy is showing photos of what is being donated. Okay, so photo 1, not even a whole pallet. Maybe it is, and they've unloaded some. Okay, I looked up what a pallet of water is. It can go as low as 400 and as high as 600. So, okay, that's nothing. Photo 2, another half pallet. Photo 3, not even a full pallet. Okay, more pallets. Okay, like, we're maybe at a couple thousand. Okay, he loaded a whole car with water. I don't know. Come on, 50 grand? Like, come on, bro. Where's the trucks? Look, this is... He says he fills a whole room. This is a little tiny storage room. Like, what is this? There's like 10 cases. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. There's 21 cases of water right there. Look at this. A whole pallet of 78 cases. $480. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's double that. 78 cases for $1,000. It would never be that. But let's even say it's that. And let me go back here. What is this? 12, 15 cases right here? Come on, bro. Okay, here's a. So he's sweating, he's working hard, yeah.
Right now, and we're coming back for 2 more trips.
Coming back for 2 more trips. That's literally nothing. That's 3 pallets? 3 pallets.
It's a long afternoon for me, but it's all for love, man. These people are out there drinking.
I'm very skeptical. Very skeptical.
Water plant. We literally have the station fill up the toxic trucks.
Yeah, I like that he gives away, but
transport that water directly
come on, if you're making money from this is so low.
All the Castros, much love. That's my family out there. Peace. All the people in St. Thomas, I love y'all. My family's out there in St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. Martin, all these islands where my people are from. And I'm not gonna let them go out like that. You know what I mean? So this is what's up, guys. My son's getting ready to pull up now. There he goes in the SUV. He's pulling up.
So his son pulls up in an SUV.
Load up one. Then we're gonna come back for 2 more.
A truck full of water.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all love y'all. Give me all the help and support. If you want to send items, physical items, and you don't want to send money, then you can just simply go to the GoFundMe link, and there's an address.
This is where he talks about the physical address.
You can send the help to, the goods to. I'll pick them up from there on my own penny, my own dime, and take them and drop them off to get delivered. Our products are getting taken over on a private jet, and the private jet brings them directly into town. So there's no mysteries that this stuff getting delivered. It's not sitting at the port like everybody else's stuff. Everybody else's stuff is sitting at the port. Our stuff is going directly to the people that need the help. All right, so we got the connection, we got the plug, we got the private jets, and we're making it happen. All right, so this is what's up, man. I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for all the positive comments. Stay strong, peace and love from Forbidden Knowledge. And me and my son getting ready to go to work right now.
Cool
all right,
that
we
he's
got work
doing
to
this.
do.
He got that connection, direct flight, all that stuff. That's great. But there's still something fishy to this to me. Okay, last one. Okay.
Hey guys, Forbidden Knowledge here.
Here he is with all his supplies.
I just want to show you these hurricane supplies. Guys, we still need more.
Okay, so you got a pallet of diapers. We already looked that up.
I know it seems impossible that we need more, but we need more. Okay? We need more.
Pallet of water. We looked that up.
Need a lot more. We have a way to get it to the people.
That's a real pallet right there.
The new drop-off is going to be at Sedano's, but I'm going to get the location for Sedano's. And if you have any doubt, some more organic beans.
Guys, even let's see the receipts for this. I would really love to see that $47,800 and whatever, $14, whatever it was.
Again, I always bring you guys the receipts. I always bring the receipts.
I'd love to see it.
If you have any doubt.
In case you have any doubt, why would he say that? Like, how is that even in your mind, dude? This is weird. He shows a box of beans. Like, what? Beans are so cheap.
Beans. But by probably next weekend, or probably this weekend, it's going to change to a different location. But we got to get more stuff, all right?
There really isn't that much stuff.
I appreciate you guys, man.
It's really not that much stuff.
We got to get more, all right?
I see less than 10 pallets of things there. That's crazy. And I know there's multiple, but he made 3 different videos about this. Here's a clip of him picking up the first batch. You got Huggies diapers, it looks like. Is that Huggies? Yep. Huggies diapers. It's reversed, so I can't see. Either way, that right there, I don't know. That doesn't even look like $1,000 to me personally. I mean, how much is a case of water? $10, $15? I don't buy cases of water, but even let's say $30. Like, okay, you got a handful there, and then Huggies diapers, we looked those up. There's really not a lot there. So, again, Something just seems a little interesting. Okay, so he now discloses what kind of vehicle he's using. He says that all that stuff right there is going to be tight in that vehicle. And then he says he has 2 or 3 more loads of this. So, okay, great. That's awesome. Again, this is all amazing stuff. I'm happy he's giving back. I'm just concerned. Did he use all the money that he raised? I don't know. According to what's shown, I mean, 3 loads of that, even if it's $1,000 a load, which it's not, but let's say it was, it's probably like 500 if we're honest, probably even less. But let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. $1,000 load, that's 3 loads, that's $3,000.
And then I got a friend of mine who's going to have a pickup truck also for me on Sunday. So we're loading up, guys, getting ready to move on out and make it happen. Baby diapers and water. 2 top priorities from what I understand right now. I appreciate you guys. Follow the link in the bio. And Rasty Rawls is working on another U-Haul truck to pick up a couple tons of goods that we got out there in Texas right now. He's going to grab those and bring them over to the location, and he'll be videotaping that when he gets done with that. But right now, I'm going to load these.
Okay, this is information to me. He had not mentioned that guy in any other videos. Okay, so maybe there is something I don't know. He says he has a U-Haul truck full of stuff. Is that a U-Haul truck that he bought supplies with? And like, if Billy's raising the money, why is somebody else buying the supplies? Or was that supplies donated? And he also says he's in Texas. Billy's is in Florida, and the drop-off stuff is in Florida. So to me, it wouldn't make any sense to pay all this money to take a U-Haul truck from Texas to Florida. Like, something that just is weird to me. Why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you just buy the goods in Florida and bring him to the drop-off location? And again, like we got to take his words for truth. I'm sure there's somebody else involved. I'm sure there's a U-Haul. But if you think about it logically, just in the gas money, why would you do all that? Like, it just seems a little weird. I'm also going to look for this video to see if I can find it anywhere. And if I do, I'll share it. But I don't think I will. Okay, now here's a video with more meals. He says 3,000 meals for Puerto Rico. I like the song. Okay, so again, this is like not much. I mean, rice is super cheap. I don't know how much a big bag of rice like that is, but rice is cheap. And toilet paper is cheap. So again, this just seems a little weird to me. Billy also shows here that he actually donated $10,000 of his own money based off the comments, which is awesome. I'm still unclear on what the money's going to, because based off what he said in all his videos, it wasn't about money. It was about getting them supplies through the private jet. So did he donate $10K into his own GoFundMe to then go spend it? I don't think that would be the case. Like, but I don't understand. And again, maybe I'm missing something. I'm just going based off everything he's shared in these videos, and these are all of them I can find. That one I just showed you was actually deleted, or maybe not deleted, just maybe never posted to YouTube. And I found it on Instagram. Again, I don't know. But still, what do you guys think?
But Billy claims to be a multimillionaire. Why would you have to use your audience to raise money? Why wouldn't you say, hey, here's my $50,000 check, boom.
In this next clip, you're going to see me and Billy hanging out and doing a podcast together. By the way, this is super cringe. I was a vegan back then. I also was super into the ancient stuff that Billy talks about. I believed all of this stuff. Like I said, I spent 13 years in the occult. These are all things I used to really, really hold near and dear to my heart. You can kind of see that in my naive demeanor, if you will. But yeah, this was just a clip of him and I promoting a breath workshop that I used to do for his audience. I did it a handful of times, and he received a ton of personal value from it. So I'll just play this here just so you could see. I did associate with this man.
I was doing my forbidden stuff part-time.
Yeah.
And I knew that this is not going to cut it for me. And it got to the point that one day, and it was actually the week that we had did the most in sales. I think it was like 150,000 that week.
Wow.
I walked in and I said, guys, you can have my percentage of the company.
Wow, you just totally walked.
I don't even want to sell it.
Holy shit.
You could just take I'm gone.
Wow.
And I turned around and I said, look, I love you guys, but I got to go. I got to be who I am, who I'm destined to be.
Yes.
I have to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And so I left and became, who I was destined to be, who I told my third grade teacher I would be when I was in the third grade. She told me, you would never be on TV. You never be anything because you're poor.
Oh, man.
And I said, okay. I was shocked and I was embarrassed.
Of course.
But I went and I found a way to do it and help people along the way. And that's important. And that's what you're doing. That's why this man is sitting here in my house. Because this man is literally out there. I've seen it with my own eyes. He's out here really changing lives, helping people start that transformation process.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to take that first step. Yep. And for you guys, the first step can be just joining this breathwork meditation.
It's literally free.
Yeah.
Like there is no catch. He then goes on to say that he has $1 billion check in his wallet that he wrote to himself, and it's going to be cashed, and it's like a manifesting thing. And then that's when you realize there is no limit. There is literally no limit other than the one you put in your head.
It's powerful you said that. So I set myself a goal and I wrote myself a check for $1 million, right?
Wow.
And so that was years ago. And so I achieved $1 million within the amount of time that I allotted for myself. And then I wrote myself a check for $20 million.
Wow.
And I actually went live on Instagram. This was a few years, I think it was 2017, when I was in Greece at the time. And a company called me on a deal I was trying to transact and offered me the $20 million. I did it live.
Holy shit.
It's on Instagram.
What was the transaction? I'm curious.
Well, it's a company that wanted to invest in my tech company because I had invented a battery, that AGM battery that can extend the life. The normal life is about 3 days in a small house. I extended it to a full week. And then I also added trickle charging from a solar panel. This is for third world countries. I got $20 million. All right, long story short.
Shit.
So
that's a good check.
Yeah, it's a good check.
Wow.
And then
beautiful.
After that happened, I said, what's my next one I'm going to write? And so I was going to I started writing it actually, 100 million. And I said, no, 1 billion. So I have a check right now. It's in my wallet. I'll show it to you before you leave. I have a check in my wallet right now for 1 billion. Some of you have seen it. Me show it to you before. It's for $1 billion. And it's got to be cashed on or before October of 2026. That's the deadline for the 1 billion. And so we have to push ourselves.
That's soon.
Yeah, it's very soon.
$1 billion's a lot.
Yeah. We have to push ourselves because if we don't do that, we can become stagnant.
Totally.
And I know the power that I wield.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the true power that's in them yet. They're still trying to figure it out. But I know my power.
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah. And he says, I'll show you before you leave. I never saw the check. Gone. Now, I'm going to talk about Billy's, I would argue, probably his most important grift. And that is to attack the figure of Jesus Christ. Now, you don't have to be a Christian. I personally am a Christian. I'm proud to be a Christian. I was not always a Christian. I spent 13 years of my life deeply involved in the occult, and I'm no longer a part of any of that stuff. And now I'm a Christian. And Billy was actually one of the people that inspired me to not be a Christian. Not directly, but indirectly through a lot of his content, because he talks very confidently and makes some very bold claims about the figure of Jesus. And a lot of people believe him.
This religion has got to come to an end because it's a farce. And I've been studying this Bible and doing book reports on the Bible since the age of 3 years old. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not. Now, I give you all these prayers and verses off the top of my dome because I did them so many times.
Right.
And so, just doing that, it became a part of me and understanding like, okay, well, there's something here. But at the same time, because I studied it so well, I recognized a lot of discrepancies that didn't make any sense to me before I came across the ancient tablets.
Right. Billy claims that he's been doing Bible reports since he was 3 years old.
And I've been studying this Bible and doing book reports on the Bible since the age of 3 years old.
First of all, most 3-year-olds can't even read, let alone do Bible reports. And for somebody who's been doing Bible reports since they're 3 years old, I would expect them to know the Bible a little bit better. But he really has no idea what he's talking about. So I'm just going to go through and look at these a little bit closely, because Billy claims Jesus traveled from Israel to Tibet. Okay, so I'm going to play a clip.
In your book, you talk about, in the Emerald Tablets, you talk about how the Emerald Tablets came 36,000 years before Jesus even walked the earth.
Yes.
And Jesus, when we talk about Jesus, he was a student of the Egyptian mysteries.
Yeah.
He learned reincarnation. He learned, what else? In India, right? In meditation.
In India, he learned the mystic arts. In Tibet, he learned Qigong and Reiki, healing with the hands.
Yeah.
Confirmed by the Dalai Lama, by the way, in recent times. As the information has been handed down and passed down from Dalai Lama to Dalai Lama. This was confirmed through also Robert Grant, who visited with the Dalai Lama, verified just a few years ago, not too long ago.
What is so insane to me is that, first of all, Jesus's lost years from the Bible start from the age of 12. So logistically, to get to Tibet from Jerusalem, you'd have to go through the Himalayas, you'd have to go through deserts, you'd have to go through mountain ranges, like, let alone knowing how to get there. This one's a stretch, bro. No historian will tell you this is true. Because just logistically, the travel is like 3,000 plus miles on foot, and Jesus is a child. Come on, man. Alexander the Great didn't even really make it that far per se. And that was like over, I think, 10 or 11 years of his journey. And he had resources at his disposal, like engineers and support. You know, this guy wasn't traveling alone. So to think this like little 12-year-old Jesus is hucking through the mountains and traveling 3,000 miles on foot there and back, come on, bro. So not only is it just absolutely insane to think that Jesus could ever do something like that, but also there's no connection in his teachings between Hinduism and Buddhism. You know, I studied with Shaolin monks when I was young, so I got a really firsthand experience with the power of Buddhism and those teachings and those kind of Taoist type philosophies. But then when I got a little bit older, I studied with Indian and Hindu gurus. Literally, I sat with gurus. They put their hands on my head and initiated me into all types of Hinduist stuff. And I had profound experiences. I won't say I didn't. But what I learned is that, you know, Buddhists and Hindus, their whole thing is like dissolving suffering, unifying with God or Source or Brahman. And life is really about ending suffering. And they believe you do that through, I mean, there's a lot of methods, but one method is yoga, another method is meditation. There's a lot of ways to do that, and they have a whole system to do this. But, you know, I studied in those systems for over a decade of my life. So I'd say compared to the average person, I have a much better understanding about Hinduism than somebody who's just like an everyday Christian. Now, I became a Christian, and I could say that not only is it highly unlikely that Jesus studied with these people, if he did, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he went to Tibet. Let's say he went to India. Let's say he learned the Egyptian mysteries. If he did, his teachings directly contradict them in every way. Like, literally in every way. The way of Christ is to really repent from your sins, to separate yourself from sin so you can move closer to God and the one true God. And also, Jesus never talks about getting rid of suffering per se. Jesus himself is a suffering God. Okay, so this is one of the biggest distinctions between Hinduism and Buddhism and Christianity, is that in Hinduism and Buddhism, you know, you're trying to do things with your actions, with your thoughts, with your energy, with your consciousness to move more towards God. Like, you're trying to move up towards God. In Christianity, God actually came down to us and he showed us the way. And if we put our faith in him and we believe in him through his grace, we're saved. We don't necessarily have to do anything besides repent and turn away from our own life. So our old life. So it's a whole different philosophy. There's no talk of ending suffering. Like Jesus himself suffered, and people believe he did that because he wanted to bond with us. He wanted to manifest himself into creation to relate with you and I and walk and live a humble human life, and then literally die and experience death and then overcome it, like as a human. So he suffered, he got whipped, he got hated on, he got literally killed on a cross. So no Hindu god is doing stuff like that. Like Buddha is not doing stuff like that. Like sure, there's some similarities, but the similarities are generic. They're not specific in any way between the gods. So I just wanted to point that out because I studied this stuff extensively. There's just everything about Christianity and Hinduism and Buddhism are different. So if Jesus did learn from those gurus, he rejected their teachings clearly. Billy has gone on the biggest shows in the world like Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet-David, Andrew Schultz, and denied things like the crucifixion. I actually don't think he did that on Joe Rogan, but he did do it on Andrew Schultz. I know that for sure. Maybe Patrick Bet-David. But Billy claims he'll debate anybody.
Who have you debated?
Whoever did debate.
Have you ever had like a public debate with anybody? Like it's on YouTube we can see, or no?
Haven't had a public debate. There's only one person that wanted to debate me, but he only wanted to debate me so that he can clout chase.
Is he a big name or no?
Well, he's not a big name. He's trying to become big, but I looked him up first. I researched him before I disagreed to do it, and found out that he had did some things like he had a sexual abuse on a 19-year-old minor. And I'm like, why would I make a guy like this famous?
Who is this guy? Is it another YouTuber or?
Yeah, I won't give his name because,
okay.
Yeah.
You're open to debating anybody?
I'm open, yeah.
Okay, so if we set up anything with anyone else that's maybe expert in the area of topic that you're okay with a panel like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so.
Billy claims he'll debate anybody. Yet, when we set up a debate with him with Wesley Huff, he huffs and puffs and threatens us with lawsuits because he's terrified people will see it. So I work for Mark, and part of my job with him is to help him prepare for his interviews with his guests. So knowing what I know about Billy, knowing I've watched his interviews just bashing Jesus, I thought, let's start off with something like the crucifixion. Let's hear what Billy has to say about the crucifixion against someone like Wesley, who also has a lot of knowledge and research and education around the crucifixion.
If you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, sure, or that's not accurate.
The statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay, according to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. The text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary. According to some scholars, it's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified.
I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I thought this was pretty badass when Wesley just like turned around and grabbed Codex Sinaiticus right off his bookshelf. I think in this moment, Billy realized, oh shit, I'm screwed.
So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers? Or
where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Wow, how convenient, Billy. You've gone on some of the biggest podcasts in the world, and you've been saying this garbage since 2017, and you just misquoted. Oh. Some of you listening might be like, oh, it's no big deal. He just misquoted. You got to understand, the crucifixion, the resurrection of Jesus Christ is what makes Christianity legit. If Jesus wasn't crucified, there would be no Christianity. Now, to believe he rose from the dead, that's a whole nother thing. But Billy right here shows you his research is a bunch of crap. I'm basing what Billy said off his own words. He claimed the crucifix was not in Codex Sinaiticus. The crucifix is in Codex Sinaiticus, so he was wrong. So he goes, oh, well, maybe it's a different thing. It's the Book of Barnabas. Let's find out what the Book of Barnabas is really about.
Okay, yeah, well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with, there are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of.
If you go to look up the Book of Barnabas on Google, you can literally find within 2 seconds that it's a fraud. I know how conspiracy theorists think because I used to be one as well. It's not a fraud because of what it says. It's a fraud because of how it's written. There's errors in terms of location. There's errors in terms of spelling and copy. It's not just a fraud because of what it's saying. And if you want to learn about that more deeply, Wesley's entire career pretty much is based around this type of stuff. Can I really trust what's in the Bible?
We have 2 copies of. One is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem, and neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River. So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. And I think a bigger problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century, and none in any other language other than Middle Age Italian Italian and Spanish. But the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante, or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee. And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So I think what I'm getting at is, so I'm a historian, and I deal with sources. So when I'm looking at sources, I want to make sure that I have a methodology by which I approach any type of source. So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. So if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Right.
The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex Sinaiticus. So I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. I can just show the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John. And it has the crucifixion.
By any chance?
Yeah, so papyrus is just the what it's made out of.
So material it's on.
I got that from ChatGPT, by the way.
Yeah,
sorry,
so
guys, I'm just
I
trying
can
to sound
actually
smart for a second.
I have that papyrus at home.
Oh, that's
So I'll show you this. So the documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me are facsimile papyri that I've made. So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I got made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus plant. And then when I go and I look at actual manuscripts, so I was at the University of Philadelphia last summer, and I went and I saw a document called P1, which is a 3rd century fragment of the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And so what I did is I sat down with that original and I produced a facsimile. So I copied the text. First of all, I cut it out with an X-Acto knife in not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply, it's what it's made out of.
Yeah.
And so there's categorizing systems, and the standard one is called the Gregory Alland categorizing system. And so sometimes you'll see when manuscripts are mentioned, they'll have a GA and then a number behind it. If it's made of papyrus, you simply abbreviate the word papyrus to P, and then you have the numbering system. So P66, what I showed you earlier, that's this on the categorizing system. It's the 66th manuscript that was put into the system. It's from the Gospel of John. I also have, P46 and P47 on my shelf, which includes all 4 Gospels and Acts from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So the only hesitation I have with what you said, Billy, is that we have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just like, it's not that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery, and yes, but I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit and leading up in.
And Billy just casually admits with Wesley, oh, if you say it's a known forgery, I'll go with that. It's a known forgery. This is very confusing to me. how is it possible that you go on the biggest shows in the world? You've been spewing this lie since 2017. And within less than 5 minutes, you are now on board with Jesus being crucified? Are you gonna retract your statements? No, of course not. And I want you to see the fragility in this man and how he really has no idea what he's talking about and how he tries to confuse you with word salad. Because in this one clip, he told 3 lies. Lie number 1 was the Sinai Bible, which he misquoted. He meant Codex Sinaiticus, has 12 to 14,000 different translations than the modern day King James Version of the Bible. First lie, not true. They're almost identical, as Wesley puts it. Sure, there's some small things, but they're nearly identical. Lie number 2, Jesus wasn't crucified. That's a pretty damn big claim. Lie number 3, the gospel of Mary's wife, or the gospel of Jesus' wife. So, do you see how he throws these things and he stacks them and then he tries to move on? See, I'm glad Wesley was sharp here because he caught Billy. He said, wait, you said this, you said the gospel of Jesus' wife. Let's talk about that. When Billy was trying to jump to the Old Testament really quick. But if you really go sentence by sentence with Billy Carson across all his interviews with Joe Rogan, with Patrick McDavid, with Andrew Schultz, just go sentence by sentence and look up this dude's claims, you'll realize most of what he's talking about is complete nonsense.
Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit and leading up into the New.
Well, hold on, because do you mind if I address the gospel of Jesus' wife?
Sure, go ahead.
What was her name?
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
So the gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually mention. So oftentimes what happens is that the text of the gospel of Jesus' wife is kind of paralleled with the gospel of Philip, which mentions that that Jesus would kiss Mary Magdalene on the mouth. And so those are kind of used in parallel to kind of for this argument that Jesus was married. So the gospel of Jesus' wife is in the Harvard Library. However, the reason we know it's also not legitimate is because even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on, was carbon dated to the 4th century, the text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas known as Grandin's Interlinear. And there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the gospel of Jesus' wife. So we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the gospel of Jesus' wife and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her, and she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form. And the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife. So I just point that out is, once again, with our sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're going towards not just early sources, but actually credible sources. And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually, and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody in the field of papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the.
There's a woman who's named Karen King. She popularized the gospel of Jesus' wife. What Wesley's saying, he's very smart, so I'm going to help break it down a little bit, is that same gospel, first of all, was found recently, and it was pretty much copied from another known fraudulent document called the Gospel of Thomas. And the reason they know it was copied is because there's an error in the Gospel of Thomas. And that same error is found in the Gospel of Jesus' wife. These are types of things that Wesley studies so that he can debunk and decode what's real and what's not. And Karen King even admitted it was a forgery. And I'm sure Billy could find that. Because when I Googled the Gospel of Jesus' wife, lo and behold, within 5 seconds of researching, I was able to see that Karen King admitted it was a fraud. This is very disappointing, Billy.
I just point.
I wanted to believe in your alien theories, bro. Okay, so this clip is very important to me because it really shows that Billy's way of verification is not rooted in one that a real historian would use. Someone like Wesley, who talks about internal and external verification. He does not have that process. So to me, this clip really, really speaks volumes because it shows that he really just has a lack of education. I don't think Billy couldn't be a good historian. I actually think he could and he should be because he has a very interesting mind. But this to me revealed everything I needed to know because it just shows that he really doesn't understand that there is more of a process of verification versus just traveling to a site, talking to tribes, reading, cave art and wall paintings and other things he references, and that you actually have to have a methodological approach to even something like oral verification. And he says, well, even the Bible is, oral, and Wesley's like trying to kind of answer him, but he doesn't really get his full thought out. But I still think it kind of speaks volumes, at least for me.
Yeah. The Aboriginal elders, same thing. They were seated here by Pleiadians. This is their verbal handed on history for thousands of years. And I can go around the world and I can come up with all this information from all these eyewitness accounts from people that should be respected, dignified, and shouldn't be scoffed. And that we're now saying that all this information that they put forward, all their verbal handed on history, all their written history, that's got to go to the side because this one text is 1,000% accurate.
Sure, but so my question is, most of that is oral history, correct?
Oh, it's all oral history, even the Bible.
Okay, so when we're engaging with oral history, what methodologies are you using to confirm that the orality is accurate?
Oh man. Well, first and foremost, some of these texts some of these cultures have written down information in caves. You've got cave paintings. The Dogon tribe actually have not only written down.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with that. The question is one of historic. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. The question is one of methodological analysis. So you have to have a method by which you can find either that something is falsifiable or that there are avenues by which you can show internal and external accuracy of credibility. So this is what we do with documents. This is what we do with the ancient Gospels. This is what I do. I've worked on Xenophon and Plutarch, and we look at the internal evidences and the external multivalent corroboration to try to figure out, okay, yes, we have all these stories. Great. I don't deny that. But as a historian, as someone who's trying to figure out what is accurate, how do you know if I use the term verisimilitude, do you know what that term means?
No, but I can tell you this. Tell me how the Dogon tribe saw Sirius B, knew the orbit of Sirius B, a trinary star system, accurately, and can show you the orbit with a special tool that they made that was given to them by these people. How do they know the shapes, the sizes, the colors, and the orbital pattern of all these planets in our solar system and other star alignments that they would use to have something called the Ziggy and planet and their own harvesting and planting and so forth and so on? That's not enough evidence that there's something.
Well, I'm not aware of that particular case. And even, I would grant that, the ancient people are far more technological advanced than we give themselves credit for. Just because they're ancient doesn't mean they're stupid. I am well aware, as someone who has done both investigation of the past and done archaeological analysis, that is a reality.
So look, we're talking about the Bible right now. And Billy is trying to bring up something about the Dogon tribe. And like Wesley says, he's not saying ancient civilizations are dumb by any means. Anybody with a brain will know that. But what he is saying is, Billy, you've made some crazy claims about Christianity. How are you verifying these things? And he can't answer it because he's not doing it. It's that simple.
My question is simply, okay, you have these stories or you have these accounts, you're referring to them as eyewitness testimony. How are you going about verifying that as that?
Well, if the people had eyewitness testimony about Jesus, they then just wrote down their eyewitness testimony on a piece of paper or parchment paper or papyrus. So these people,
right? So that's where internal methodological analysis.
Some of it's actually written down. So I mean, it's the same exact thing. There's really no difference.
Well, no. So you do internal investigations to figure out when something was dated. So something like so when I use that term verisimilitude before, that's something we as historians are looking for. It's a term that simply means the appearance or likelihood of truthfulness. So when you do historical analysis, it's an inference to the best explanation. So you have proof and you have data, and you're extrapolating that data on levels of probability. So some things can be confirmed as high probabilistically true, and other things are lower in their probability that they happened. But there are different methodologies, different ways that you explore historically how that happens.
Well,
so for the Gospels, you look at
with the Dogon tribe. Scientists went there to visit the tribe, and they still have no answers because they used their modern science. They took the best scholars to visit these people, and they're still scratching their heads. Something happened there.
Sure. And I'm not even denying that necessarily, but the question is, okay, we need different levels of evidence and exploration, not just scientifically, but historically, to derive something as eyewitness testimony. Now we have mountains of that, and I'm more than willing to go into some of that with the Gospels as early eyewitness testimony that can be verified externally and internally. But nonetheless, the only reason I ask, Billy, is because I've listened to a fair amount of your content, and I'm unaware of the methods that you use to try to discern between what is an accurate source historiographically and an inaccurate source historiographically.
Well,
does that make sense?
I use getting in an airplane and traveling to these places, doing my own research, talking with the indigenous cultures, and researching as much of the text that is available that I can possibly find.
Okay, so I don't dispute that, and I do believe you have done that, but I mean, even from what we've talked about, so you've researched the text, but when we talked about the crucifixion, everything you cited was either, and I mean with all due respect, false in terms of the Sinai Bible, because Codex Sinaiticus is just a 4th century Greek manuscript of the Gospels that we have today, or they were verified forgeries in terms of the Gospel of Jesus' wife and the Gospel of Barnabas.
You may be right on that particular part of the topic, but like I said, that's less than 0.1% of the information that I hold.
This I find very interesting. Billy says that's less than 0.1% of what I talk about. Now, that may be true, like Wesley is saying, but it's not the topic that they're debating, okay? Second point to that is that in the research of making this video, if I just go to Billy's YouTube right now and I pull up his kind of most viewed videos, so in the top 10 of his main videos that are posted on his YouTube, the one that talks about Jesus and Christianity is right here. Could the God of the Bible really be Satan? Now, these did okay, but his lives tell a bigger story, popular. So all of his lives, a lot of them have to do with Jesus and Christianity. His top live, 2.2 million views. Could the God of the Bible really be Satan? He reposted that one as a video and got a top view as a main video too. And then he talks about his fourth biggest one, was Jesus really a student of Thoth, or were they the same person? And I've actually pulled clips for this video, so you've seen clips of these. And then another one, top 5, did Jesus' brother kill his brother and have sex with his sister? I mean, so here's another one, is religion manipulating you through Satan and Jesus? And here's another one, was Jesus a student of Thoth, or were they the same person? By Billy Carson. So, and there's even more. So, there you see, he says this is less than 0.1% of what he knows, and I'm sure that's true, but
my research and investigation is second to none. I'll stand by my research and investigation against anyone.
It's not 0.1% of what he talks about, clearly. I mean, some of his most viral videos are making these crazy claims, and I think that's the whole point of why we set up this whole debate in the first place. And like I said earlier in the video, you know, you've gone on Patrick Bet-David and you said the same thing.
12, he shows up in Egypt, and we know that's a fact because I take people on tour every year to Egypt, and I take them to the house that Jesus lived in. It's a crypt. It's actually worship. People come there to see that bed that he laid in every single year. When I take people there, we take them straight there. And we know the path that he traveled throughout Egypt because it's a huge sign outside that Coptic church where he lived that shows where he went. Now, when he was in Egypt, what did he go there for? To learn the Egyptian mysteries. Who taught the Egyptian mysteries? Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. And so Thoth was the teacher of the Egyptian mysteries, or the ancient mysteries of what it was called. And then he leaves there and he goes to Tibet to learn Qigong and Reiki healing, which was confirmed by the Dalai Lama. And then he heads down into India to learn the mystic arts, teaching reincarnation all the way back.
You've gone on Andrew Schultz and you said the same things.
Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas, but they left that out of the Bible on purpose.
You've gone on Nick Cannon and you said the same things.
Oh, you know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not. Now, I give you all these prayers and verses off the top of my dome because I did them so many times.
Right.
And so, you know, just doing that, it became a part of me and understanding like, okay, well, there's something here, but at the same time, because I studied it so well, I recognized a lot of discrepancies that didn't make any sense to me before I came across the ancient tablets and saw that they were copied from ancient tablets that were thousands of years prior.
And a whole bunch of other podcasts through the years spewing these lies because it's a popular topic for your brand. And again, like, it's not true. So you're just quite literally spewing lies. And I don't really even know if Billy knows what he's doing is not true. Well, he does now after Wesley, but he has still gone on shows after this interview and spewed the same lies. Now, could those shows have been filmed prior to the Wesley interview? Possibly. But I just don't know, you know? I really just don't know here. So what do you think?
Sure, but that was the original question. So yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, well, so I'm going off of what we've already talked about. So you said you explore the text. I don't deny that. But the evidence, by going off of what you have put forward in terms of the actual documentary evidence, is not just less than convincing in my respect. And I mean this with respect because I think you have done a lot of research. You've traveled to these places. I have too. Like, this is what I do as my career. But I'm not really getting indication because in history, we go to the primary sources in their primary languages. And when Mark asked, okay, why do you deny the crucifixion? The sources you used were not primary.
Okay, we're still talking about the same thing over and over again. There's so much more we can talk about here. We're wasting a lot of time. There's so much more. That's this amount.
Do you guys
so much more stuff to talk about?
Do you think that
talk about?
And this is when I felt like Billy wasn't interested in truth, and he just clearly was getting upset that he really had nothing to say to Wesley, and I think his frustration and maybe a bit of anger was catching up to him, and it kind of shows in this clip, and he's kind of looking to Mark for help. And unfortunately, Mark listened, and the rest of the interview, I mean, I only showed bits and pieces, but from here, the interview kind of went south because Mark took Billy's side, and it wasn't really a proper debate, in my opinion, and they were kind of ganging up on Wesley, and then his internet connection broke a few times. But it didn't, it doesn't even matter, really, because if you know, at least for me, the pattern I've noticed in Billy is that, like I said earlier, when he talks, he stacks things. He'll say like 3 or 4 or 5 different facts, which in this case, all of them were not true. So he'll say like 3 things, and then you'll answer one of them, but then he'll try to go on to another topic, but you haven't debunked all 3 things. Like he did earlier with trying to jump to the New Testament. He's doing that again. Like, Wesley is like trying to kind of correct him on the crucifixion, and Billy's like, you're bringing that up again, and he's getting all pissed. But it's like, yo, this is a pretty big deal, bro. Like, you are talking to a Christian. Like, our entire religion revolves around the death and resurrection of Jesus. So to deny that, like you have on the biggest shows in the world, like I sound like a broken record saying this, but this is a huge deal, and he just wants to brush past it. And then he almost throws it on Wesley in a way, like we're wasting time. It's like, what do you mean? Like you're here to debate Christianity and back up your theories. It seemed like somebody was getting caught and they were just trying to move on because they were uncomfortable. Rightfully so, but it wasn't professional in my beliefs. And then you could kind of see Wesley's like, yeah, okay, dude, okay. It's kind of he's really sweet. Wesley, I think he could have went way harder. I think he was very nice. He was very kind and nice in this situation. I thought forbidden knowledge didn't dance around the bushes. It feels like dancing to me. This is dancing if I've ever seen dancing in a debate. Come on, man.
And you got to be real. All this dancing around the bushes, you know, guys, I'm forbidden knowledge. I don't dance around the bushes. That's not who I am. You already know that. That's why y'all come to my rants, because I don't dance around. I'm going to give it to you like it is, whether you like it or not. I'm going to give it to you like it is, period.
You're going to give it to us like it is, but you won't give it to Wesley like it is because you can't.
And I'm telling you right now, the Christians on this planet are responsible for half the problems we got.
The Christians on this planet are responsible for half the problems we got. That's a crazy claim, dude. What is your issue with Christians? This is my conspiracy and my personal opinion about why I think Billy goes so above and beyond to try to make Christianity not seem legit. This is multifold, and I'll just break it down for you. Based off Billy's words, he was raised in a religious household. His dad, made him do Bible reports, and by a young age, he was at bars reciting Bible verses and prayers like he showed in that Nick Cannon clip. That has to tell me that Billy actually did read the Bible. Billy understood the Bible. Billy, maybe believed in Jesus Christ at one point. And then probably, if I had to guess, Billy's a smart guy. This guy is not an idiot by any stretch of the imagination. In a lot of ways, he's incredibly intelligent and he's incredibly interesting. He's like very, very different type of person. And I have to assume that as Billy got older and matured in age and maybe even in the Bible, he started to have questions, maybe things like about Deuteronomy and other harder to understand verses in the Bible. And when he had those questions, maybe they got shut down by pastors. Maybe they just said, hey, you shouldn't question the authority of God, which I don't personally believe in. I think everybody should question. If you don't question how you grew up and religion and everything, you shouldn't believe anything off blind faith. Personally, that's my personal beliefs. And I have a inkling that Billy did that. And these pastors and these preachers, they didn't have answers for him. And being a smart kid, it probably got him to wonder, if this is true, why can't these pastors, why can't these preachers answer my questions? And that maybe created some doubt in him or doubt in people who were Christian. I don't know. All these things. So I have a sense Billy had a really poor experience with the Christians around him at a young age because maybe they couldn't answer his questions and told him not to question authority, that's on them. So Billy grows up and he starts to probably dig and search for answers. And that's when he comes up Gnostic gospels, these hidden gospels. And then it gives him the certainty that, oh, look, yes, I was right. The Bible is full of crap. All of this other stuff that's been hidden from me is the truth, so he clings on to it. Billy's whole origin story is that his, family kind of got broken up when he saw these gray aliens. And he told me this story too, personally, and he said it on multiple interviews. And I don't know what to believe. I mean, I believe in this stuff. I know all that stuff is very, very real. I don't think gray aliens are benevolent by any means. I don't have a reason to not believe that story. I actually believe it. Call me crazy. I've just seen some stuff too, so I would never say that's not true because I've experienced it as well. What I will say though is that my experience with those aliens is that the first thing they attack is your theology. That's the first thing to go, because if they can attack that, they can pretty much manipulate where your life will go. Because if you are grounded in your theology, specifically in Jesus Christ, you're going to have boundaries in spirituality. You're going to know what's good, what's not good based off the word of God. Those aliens, or whatever they are, they go after that. And it opens your mind to new possibilities, and that's when your foundation is replaced. So it's my speculation, but this is twofold. I believe something happened there. Whether that story's true or not, I don't know. But he did say it broke up his family. Now, that's pretty significant because based off an interview I watched with him, he said his wife was actually a Jehovah's Witness. So Jehovah's Witnesses, my ex is actually a Jehovah's Witness. So I know a lot about the culture and how they think and believe. So I would have to assume maybe his wife thought this was some demonic encounter. Maybe not. But if that's the case and it broke up his family, I could see how he would have anger and resentment and just a hatred toward Christians, because that experience with the great aliens for him was clearly very real. I mean, I've seen him cry about it in interviews. Now, could he be acting? He does have an acting background. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so, though. I actually think all of that is 100% true. You guys might think I'm crazy now, but I've seen some stuff. I have seen some stuff, and I've never talked about it publicly, but I eventually will. So I have a belief that this is a twofold thing, or multifold. You know, you have the childhood stuff, questioning authority, not getting answers. You got the charismatic stuff, which doesn't represent Christians in the true light of the faith. You got the alien stuff, which if you've ever had an encounter with aliens or even a psychedelic experience with mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT, you'll know usually the first thing to go is your theology. And then fourthly, the breaking up of the family. So there's a lot of reasons to hate Christians, because Christians doubt his alien theories, because the Bible tells us about this stuff. It tells us the devil will disguise himself as an angel of light, like aliens and light beings do. You know, there's all these things that our faith protects us from going down rabbit holes like what Billy pushes. So my conclusion is that Billy was either influenced by outside spiritual forces, and because he was influenced by outside spiritual forces, to add validity to his conspiracy theories, he has to do the very first thing that allows conspiracy theories to take hold: eliminate the divinity or the truth of Jesus Christ. Change the identity of Jesus. He's Thoth. He's something else. He's related to the ancient Egyptians. He's related to the Hindus. He learned from the monks in Tibet. Because as soon as you do this, you can start to in place new theories. If the Bible isn't true and the figure of Jesus isn't true from the Bible, you can't trust it. It's not there. So if Billy can wreck that for you, he now gives you his theories, which we now know they're not rooted in anything that can be backed by real historical or archaeological evidence. So this is my conspiracy theory, is that Billy's entire body of work relies on Jesus not being who the Bible claims him to be, and to be some type of alien, Atlantean being. Because then now, once you change that base foundation, the sky's the limit. You can make pretty much anything up and people will believe it, because they automatically don't trust the authority of the Bible. And I've been in enough cults and in the New Age and in the occult to tell you, Billy is not the only spiritual leader to do this. Every single one of the spiritual leaders I've ever worked with in this space do the exact same thing. Tony Robbins included. And he's like gentle with it, but he does it. And I've seen him do it. But Joe Dispenza, you know, all these guys, they all do the same thing. They gotta strip away your beliefs about Jesus. Even Joe Dispenza talks about the Gnostic Gospels. So there's something here. I don't quite know what it is. I believe it has something to do with a darker demonic energy influencing people like Billy to peddle lies, to strip away the divinity of Jesus Christ. That's all this all comes back to. Because if you can do that, you could change a person's entire destiny, for sure. And I know that because I know what life is like without Jesus, because most of my life, I have been a believer of the New Age, of the occult, of ancient mysteries. I mean, this is stuff I've studied extensively, plus Hinduism, which is kind of mixed in with all of this in a way. So that's my conspiracy theory. What do you guys think?
In a way, I feel sorry for him because he has been kept away from for me, one of the greatest things that's ever happened to my life. And like I've said, I've searched high and low for spiritual truths. And it really breaks my heart that somebody who's had such a bad experience is now taking so much time and energy to directly lead people away from Jesus Christ. It's really sad. And I was one of those people, and there's been a lot of people that have reached out to me and told me the same exact thing about Billy Carson. And I feel a lot of these people just have had a poor experience with religion, and because of that, they have turned to people like Billy Carson who are just peddling purely fraudulent lies on multiple different levels. So I want to remind everybody, religion killed Jesus Christ. You know, I mean, that's a whole nother thing, but it's just sad to me because Billy, you can do what you're doing. Just leave Jesus out of it, bro, because you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to him.
And, you know, it lets you know that this person, this entity really did exist in the physical form. It wasn't just some kind of thought thing. It wasn't, no, it was real. This was a real person. For those of you who were wondering, this was a real person that existed with flesh and blood. He put on his pants one leg at a time, just like we did. Okay. Pretty interesting. Now, he was a virgin birth. How do we know about the time he spent in Egypt? Well, there's this book called The Gospel of the Holy 12, and I have these Gospels as well. They're very little known, hard to find gospel.
So in this clip, Billy references the Gospel of the Holy 12. There's so many things that are just wrong with this clip. First of all, he says this is hard to find. You can do this right now. Please, I encourage you to do this. Go to Amazon while you're listening to this video. Type in the Gospel of the Holy 12. You'll see it right there. You can buy it right now. Billy is trying to make it seem like this is a little known thing. Well, yeah, Billy, this is not a historical document, and it is a known fraudulent by historians. That's why it's not referenced. I don't know what it is about the figure of Jesus, but every religion acknowledges him, but every religion tries to strip away his truth. Why is there so much power in the name of Jesus Christ, that from the beginning of time with the Gnostic Gospels, there have been societies that have tried to twist and tamper and manipulate the teachings of Jesus from the Bible? Why is that the case? Why is that not the case with Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad? Why is that the case with Jesus Christ? It's so freaking fascinating to me. And that question is actually one of the things that brought me to Jesus Christ. Personally, again, I spent 13 years in the occult. Like, I know all about the ancient stuff. I've done it. And I have found Jesus of the Bible to be true.
After this interview with Wesley and Billy and Mark, Billy went on the Nick Cannon show and talked about how Mark went to his wedding, and how Mark is also a Christian, and how he loves everybody, and how Mark's wife is a Muslim.
And this clip is going to be kind of helping everyone listening to deconstruct the truth about Mark and Billy's relationship and the truth about who Mark is as a Christian. Now, Mark is the same person that hosted Billy and Wesley on his show, and Billy brings Mark up in this podcast with Nick.
Friends right now in my neighborhood that are, one is a hardcore Christian who's married to a woman who's in Islam. Okay?
Oh, wow.
He's white and she's black.
Wow.
And they were at my wedding. I only had a handful of people at my wedding. I got married in Bora Bora.
Wow.
They were there.
Okay.
Okay. They were there. And so I've got people that, I know people that are atheists, people that are super spiritual, even beyond my level of spirituality, beliefs. You know, I mean, like way out there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I've got this culmination of people that I you know, collaborate with and work with and see on a daily basis. Some of them watch my kid when I go out of town.
Wow.
And so I don't have any ill feeling towards anybody.
So I find this really weird. Again, I don't know if Billy is innocently lying, if he's purposely lying. I don't fully know. All I know is that Mark is not a Bible pushing Christian, like at all. He's a very progressive Christian. I've known Mark for years, I've spent a lot of intimate time with him. Never once did he push the Gospels on me. I think what Billy's trying to do here, I've seen people do this before. They associate with people with quote unquote different beliefs as them to position themselves in a certain way. I'll give you an example. Let's say I was a racist and I had this secret hate amongst black people, but I didn't want you to know that. So because I'm a public figure or I'm a rising public figure, I'm going to associate myself with black people so that you won't ever question if I'm a racist. I believe, allegedly, this is what Billy's doing. People like Tony Robbins do this as well. Tony Robbins says he's a Christian, and I think he says that so that Christians will lower their guard and pay him to go to his events. I really think Billy did the same thing with Mark, that he tried to associate and bring a Christian close to him so that people would put their guard down about him. And you have someone like Ruslan, who's this huge Christian influencer, actually believe Billy's lie and credit Billy, like, wow, I can't believe he's friends with somebody like Mark. But
man, I mean, how cool is it that Mark's around Billy? Like, that's really cool, and I'm impressed that they're friends and that he's willing to challenge him and push back. And so he is like, hey, I know this guy Wes. He's a gentleman.
But then Billy twists the perception of who Mark really is. Mark is not a Bible thumping Christian. There is literally not one time in my 2+ years of knowing Mark and knowing him very intimately, more than Billy does, that Mark ever pushed the gospel on me. Never once. Literally never once. So this is this is just, again, this might not be a full lie. I allegedly, I think it is. It could be an innocent lie, but I highly doubt it. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We're talking a lot about Christianity. You might be thinking, okay, this is cool, Anton. I still love Billy. You're just a crazy, butthurt Christian. So let's talk about something completely unrelated to Christianity. Let's talk about the ancient tablets from Sumeria that Billy loves to reference. Loves to reference these. Okay, so this is from the big man, Joe Rogan.
Stuff together, specifically talking about these ancient tablets, particularly what came out of ancient Sumer. Like, what's the conventional explanations when people tried to dismiss what they knew in ancient Sumer?
These people left behind such detailed records and information. It's a time capsule of information on stone tablets for us today to be able to decipher, break down, and understand, and that's what we're here to do now. It's incredible work, and it takes a long time to do. And then you have to let this thing dry, and then it becomes stone. If people were supposed to be trying to worry about how they're going to get their next meal, shelter for the night, who has time to sit down and write these incredible works of art like the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example?
Billy claims to be an expert on ancient civilizations. Based off what he said in this clip, he's making it sound like the people that made these scribes were like hunter-gatherers. You guys, I'm just going to show you some photos of ancient Sumeria. And this was a pretty developed civilization. And they had devoted people. I forget their exact names, but there's literally devoted people to writing these scribes. They kept things like, history in these scribes, accountant records. This was people's jobs to transfer information to these tablets. The way Billy paints it to Joe is like they were like running away from aliens or something, and all this crazy stuff was happening, and they had to like scatter to like write these things down quickly. Like, that's literally not at all how it went.
Yeah.
So I think they really were writing down, and also they were transcribing information that was given to them by these quote unquote gods with the lowercase g.
Here's what Google has to say. Sumerian scribes were highly educated members of the ancient Mesopotamian societies who were trained to read and write on various subjects. Just because something's written in an ancient language does not necessarily mean like
people were like uneducated. Like Billy, out of all people, should know this. Ancient civilizations, a lot of them were freaking incredible. And there is I'm not saying all of Billy's stuff's not true. I'm sure there's a ton of truth in what he says. Obviously not in the regard to Christianity, but I'm sure other areas of expertise, he talks about this stuff more in depth where there's probably some accuracy, but he should know that just because a society was ancient, doesn't mean they weren't established. I mean, these people had kings, had a whole full-blown society. It wasn't like hunter-gatherers like he's making it out to be. So I just thought that was really weird. And I'm not going to talk more about ancient civilizations because I don't really know much about them. I do know how to use Google and look at things quickly, like you should too, and do your own research like Billy says you should. To conclude, for everybody that has invested money into the Forbidden Knowledge company,
Have you ever wanted to get involved in a multi-billion-dollar industry? Well, look no further. It's right here, Forbidden Knowledge Incorporated. Become a partner with us? You can do that by investing and buying shares of the company.
I just want to look at this a little bit deeper because I find a couple question marks. So Billy's now running this new thing where you can invest, you can donate on his website right here. An investment opportunity with Billy Carson. Invest in Forbidden Knowledge TV, a profitable and rapidly growing stream education content on Apple TV, Roku, etc. He goes into the problem, the solution. You can read this all on your own. Now, I don't have an issue with any of this. My big issue is, where's the money going? I'm very, very curious about this because I just did a little bit of research and I found that his wife, Elizabeth Huckstra, also has a criminal background, criminal record. I'll put that here. Check that out. She used to live in Detroit. I actually knew Elizabeth before I knew Billy. What I find so interesting is that Elizabeth owns a company called Hans Flow LLC. Now, when I dug a little bit deeper, I noticed that Billy's company, Forbidden Knowledge, has been paying Elizabeth's company hundreds of thousands of dollars in consulting fees. That's a little interesting. Is it possible that they could be raising money from the public and funneling it back into their own company? Is that possible? So if Billy Carson is so rich, his company is so profitable, he's donated $12 million, why does he have to keep raising money from his audience? Something just doesn't add up. This dude drives around in Rolls Royces, but they're rented. He's admitted they're rented. I would have to guarantee his house is also rented, allegedly. So what are your thoughts? I could go on and on. This video could be 10 hours long. But share with me in the comments. What do you think? Verify what I'm sharing with you here. Look up his records on the Broward County website. There's a lot of ways to verify. Look at his old Instagram videos. Look at his old YouTube videos. It's all there. Even his recent stuff. I didn't overly search for any of this. It's all very easy to find. And the last thing I'll say is this, Billy, Elizabeth, if you both are watching this, I'm sure you're a little bit taken back, probably wouldn't expect this from me. And I didn't want to do this video. Although I shared all this, I do still appreciate who you both are as people, and I know we've had some fun memories and good times. But going deeper into all of this, I've really, and having a revelation in terms of my spiritual beliefs, I really don't think what you guys are doing in terms of Christianity is appropriate or necessary, and it's just not rooted in anything truthful in terms of the evidence Billy provides. So I have an ask, and I'll gladly take this video down. Like I said, I didn't even really want to do this. I want to do it for the people that have told me that Billy has led them away from Jesus. That breaks my heart because Jesus has revolutionized my life. But I will take this video down if you do. All I ask is this. Billy, man, if you can just make a claim to your audience saying that whatever the reasoning for this, you were uneducated, you didn't realize you were working with fraudulent documents, and
None of what you said is true. If you could make a public statement doing that, man, I will gladly take down this video. I also think it would be appropriate to contact people like Patrick Bet-David and Andrew Schultz and Nick Cannon, some of the biggest podcasts in the world, and maybe either go back on them and kind of change your tone a little bit around Christianity and inform them, hey, I misspoke here, I misspoke there. Can you edit this part out, or can you take it down and rerun it back, man? Again, I'm not trying to like pressure you to do something. I'm not trying to like hold this video over your head. But for me and all of the Christian community, we can get behind this, because you gotta understand, man, we're not talking about the Egyptian gods and you know, throwing shade on the Anunnaki. Like, we don't do that because we don't know anything about it and it doesn't matter to us. Like, but you gotta understand, like, this is really our personal God. Like, we really believe this stuff. People have had encounters with Jesus. I have personally, and it changed my life. So you can think whatever you want about that, but for me and for millions of Christians, this is a very real thing. And it's like, if your dad was an amazing man and he never did anything wrong and all he did was loved you, and then you had somebody just totally twisting everything about who he is, how he loved, his true identity, you're like, yo, that's my dad. Like, I know everything about him. What's this person making up? You'd feel some type of way. I mean, that's kind of a poor analogy because it doesn't show the grandness of what we really feel, but it is similar to that. I'll gladly take this video down if you will just publicly declare, hey, you know, I was wrong, made a mistake, these documents are fraudulent, etc. Dude, honestly, looking out as a friend, this will help you. This will help you. If you're willing to admit your wrongs, man, people will trust you. Like I said, I don't want to hold your past against you. I really don't. Because I've seen parts of you, Billy, that are beautiful. We've had great times, man. Like, you're not a bad person, and I hope this video didn't paint you out to be that. But there's just a lot of question marks around a lot of your behavior. And there's redemption, man. We all make mistakes. And again, I don't even think any of this is too big of a deal. But you don't need to lie. You don't need to shoot down a religion. And I really think you would gain a lot of respect from a whole new branch of audience you're not tapping into if you could humbly admit your wrongs and stop talking about our God, man. With all due respect, peace and love.